Hello everyone, it's Michael here and welcome to my YouTube channel and thank you guys for watching this video. Alright, so in this video actually we'll be talking about the 12 things that you actually have to consider before you actually think of studying here in China. Alright, so the first thing that you actually need to consider is actually a long-term plan. Now, basically, when it comes to the long-term plan, we can talk about the study plan. Now, when it comes to the study plan, we can subdivide this into three factors. So the first one is your major. The second one is actually the exchange rate. And the third one is actually your expenditure. All right, now, when you look at China, basically, currently, China has designed its system basically to accommodate people from developed countries such as, America, USA, and all these Western countries here. All right, so when you come into China, basically, for example, such as me as an African, there are different factors that you should actually consider when it comes to the first one, which is your major. So the first thing that you want to consider is that after studying for 4 years of your bachelor's degree, do you really want to work in China? That's the question. If it basically in your heart is yes, then you have to consider also other things which actually here are very, very important for you to actually acquire a job here in China. All right, so when it comes to your major here, there are different types of categories that you can actually fall in so that you can actually easily maybe secure a job in China. Now, the work industry in China basically for the foreigners part accommodates the foreigners mostly in two categories. So the first one is basically the social industry, or maybe the trading social industry, whereby they use social medias to actually trade in or maybe sell products such as so basically in simple terms, we can talk about TikTok. The second industry is the teaching industry. Now, when you look and think down all these industries are actually interconnected. And when you are actually looking for a job in China, they will basically consider three factors. Now, the first factor is going to be your skin color. And the second factor they're going to consider is your nationality. And the last factor they're going to consider is your skill. How is your skill? So these three factors. So basically you can have a very good skill, but if you are basically from not a well-recognized nationality, especially when it comes to a teaching job, the probability of you having to secure a job is very, very hard due to different types of reasons. And I hope if you really want to really get deep down on how you can actually secure a job into China, you can actually watch my other videos that I'm gonna attach my links here. So let's talk about a bit. I'm gonna try and breathe out this part for the work. All right, so how about if you want to secure a job? So there are certain things that you can actually maybe work out for you to actually make it easy for you to actually secure a job here in China. Now, when it comes to your major, you have to consider studying three categories. The first one is the marketing part. You can go into marketing, which is actually the marketing and the business, something like that, something that deals with those kinds of stuff. The other part is that the international trade. You can consider trying to study this type of majors. And the last part is the management. You can actually consider studying in different parts, such as management, marketing, and international trade. It's gonna actually help you to actually secure a job here in China. Now, it does not end there, because let's say if you are from, let me say from Africa, let me say you're not basically from South Africa, and your skin is not white, and you want to secure, maybe let me say you want to apply for a job in China, especially into the teaching industry, because those are the open and most jobs that you are likely to come across. It's actually very, very hard for you to actually secure a job. The chances are there. It's not impossible, but we can use different ways for us to make things work out for each and every person, and that's why in this video, that's what I'm trying to do. So the chances are there. You can actually secure a job, but it's not easy. It's actually very, very hard. So let me say you are from one of the countries, let me say different countries, or maybe the northern part of the countries, and you want to secure a job in China. But actually the northern part of the countries are not considered to be native. But basically because of your skin color, the possibilities of you securing a job in China are very high, and at a rate of at least maybe 80%. Usually you face a lot of visa problems, but you know, the people on the company that employs you, usually they have some different types of connections, or maybe what we call a relationship with those people that work there. So they are able to fight through and make things because they think you are valuable. So they'll do all kinds of ways to figure out the visa issue for you. But when you come from a non-native country and you're black and you're looking for a job in, you know, this type of small cities, especially small cities, it's actually not easy for you because they think it's not worth it for them to actually fight for a visa for you, unless if you have a special skill that bypasses these people, you know, that they consider to be much valuable for them, to the company. The other option is that if you are from South Africa and you're white, or maybe you're black, the possibilities are very high. You can actually come here in China, do your studies, and you can have a lot of opportunities to work and all those kinds of things. But I just hope that people that come from especially South Africa can have an open mind to leave it to possibilities of them actually finding a job in different situations, because it usually pushes them to higher opportunities. So how can you sort out this problem? Let me say you are not from a native country and you're black, and you'll find it very hard for you to actually acquire a job in China. And how can you actually increase your payment in China? The possibility here is that do not come to China to study, but go to these native countries such as maybe South Africa, Australia, America, UK, Canada, and do your studies there. Then after that, come back here in China to do your master's degree. Now, in the process of doing your master's degree, this is gonna give you a higher possibility, or maybe a higher chance for you, or maybe higher chances for you to actually get a quick offer in China. Because according to the regulations of China, actually these are just in the books, whereby you have to be kind of maybe native, or maybe you studied in a native country. This applies in different situations, such as maybe the teaching job. But you know, in the minds of actually the people that are actually offering you a job in China, they look at basically these three factors when it comes to actually giving you a job. And in most likely, you might come from a native country, but you're black, but your salary compared to the white, someone coming from a white, someone who's white and from a non-native country, they're likely to get a very high pay than you, even if you have a better skill, or maybe you have, even if you have a better skill, or maybe you work more, you're likely to do more work and that. So in order to actually balance up, you can actually try to improve yourself in this way. The next one that you want to consider is actually you want to consider the exchange rate. Now, basically this is not one of the factors when it comes to the study plan. it's not a very basic factor, but if you're actually not on scholarship and you want to consider this factor, because sometimes when you look at, especially us that are coming to African countries, let me say, our currencies tend to be not very stable. I can give an example of myself. When I was coming to China in 2014, the currency in my country was much more stronger than the currency in China. But when it came to 2015, somewhere there, the currency had to drop down twice that to compared to that of China. So it was in a ratio of 2 to 1. And that meant that the people that actually were supporting me had to send me twice for me to receive half of my tuition fee. So it became very, very expensive. For example, if my tuition fee is maybe 9,000, they had to send me 18,000 of my currency for me to receive 9,000. So it became too expensive. Meanwhile, they were sending me 10,000 for me to receive 11,000 yuan here. So it became too expensive. So the planning strategy had just failed. And in this case, if you want to balance up each and every situation and you are on self-pay, you have to consider this type of factors, because it's going to help you. You can actually do a teaching job, which is actually considered not legal, but basically if you are doing a part-time job, it's not very serious. But in this way, it actually helps you to actually survive actually in China. But even as you are trying to acquire a job, they'll actually consider these factors. So even as you plan to actually study in China, you really have to really seriously consider these factors before you actually go to China. So the next one you can consider is actually the expenditure. So when it comes to the expenditure, basically, in China we have different types of cities. Some cities are actually lower, and some cities are actually way advanced. But in my analysis and my experience, the differences are only 10 to 20% differences in expenditures. Because when you look at in China, we basically buy things online, and we, traveling, we pay the same amount of money, and when it comes to eating, the expenditures are almost likely to be the same. So when it comes to the expenditure, the only difference is very minimal, and it's very, very small when you look at the numbers so well. So in my approximate analysis, I can say if you are in a place, let me say in Hangzhou, that is a quite advanced city, you are likely to spend at least maybe 2,000 for a student. If you can have 2,000, then you have a very decent meal each and every time, especially if you can do the cooking, and you can also eat from the canteens. And if you want to live a good life and very luxurious, then you can consider having 4,000 to actually 6,000 yuan. This is actually a good amount of money for you to actually live very comfortably, especially if you don't need to rent a house outside, you live into the dormitories. The other thing that you actually might consider is that, if you want to live outside, the expenditure grows up a bit, in that you need to pay rentals and also electricity and different types of things. So you might also try to consider. And in Hangzhou, basically the rentals, they go from basically 800, and they can go to even 3,000. And sometimes if you want to go into a very, very good house in the city center, you might even pay very huge amounts of money. The second consideration that you actually want to consider is the university ranking. I believe each and every person, if they want to study, they want to go to one of the best universities. And in China, we have 1,000 universities, and each and every university has got its own ranking in China. Now, there are different types of universities that you can actually consider, and in my option, if you want to if you want to study in different countries, such as if you want to pursue your master's degree in countries such as the UK, then you want to consider studying in one of the best universities such as Tsinghua or maybe Zhejiang University. For this is going to give you a very high score into entrance into one of the best universities in the UK, especially when it comes to the conversion of your GPA and your scores the recognition of the schools in China. But if you want to just study in China and get back, especially if you're from Africa and go back to your country, in my opinion, I think it's really not a very big deal. So you can actually choose in any of the universities you want to study and get your bachelor's, your master's degree, and go back to Africa and get your job. And basically in my country, they actually don't even question the kind of university that you went to, and they don't actually consider your ranking and sort of things. So I can actually explain a bit when it comes to the university ranking. So we have what we call in China two types. We can call Shuilian and Dashui. Now, if you really want to enter into one of the best universities, of course, then you should at least consider going into a school which says Dashui. When it comes to the translation part, they're all universities, but if you want to have the best experience of the university life, then you have to actually consider going into a university that has a Dashui on it. So we can have schools such as the Zhejiang University, which is actually Zhejiang Dashui, or you can have schools such as Zhejiang University of Technology, which is actually Zhejiang Konye Dashui. So this type of schools, they're gonna give you the best feeling of university life, especially when it comes to Hangzhou. I would actually recommend you to go to Zhejiang University or Zhejiang University of Technology. Though Zhejiang University is one of the best universities in China and one of the best in actually Zhejiang province, and which is actually seconded by Zhejiang University of actually Technology. So all these universities actually, they're gonna give you a very good experience. The accommodation is good, the teaching is good, though you might likely face some maybe a little problems when it comes to the communication part. You find that maybe some lecturers do not know how to really express themselves, but they have all the necessary equipment to make sure that you are really equipped and the best education that you can actually get. They already have it there, and the best experience. The other thing that actually is there, you find that these universities actually, they are close to actually the subway. So when you find the movement, you find that the subway is actually on the main gate of the university, especially when it comes to Zhejiang University of Technology. They have a subway there, and the subway really connects to actually the railway station. So traveling becomes actually very, very convenient. A driving license and a bank card. So I'm going to start with the driving license. So when it comes to the driving license, when you have a driving license from your home country or anywhere around the world, it doesn't matter which country you're actually from, and that driving license, you got it 6 months, you got it like 6 months and you are in your country for the period of 6 months, you are able to transfer it into a Chinese driving license, and actually you just need to do a test. And if you want to know the process of actually acquiring a driving license in China, I'm going to link my video below, and you can actually watch the process. It's actually very quick and very convenient to actually do. You just need a few documentation. So one will ask, why do I actually need a driving license? So when it comes to the driving license, when you have a driving license from your home country or anywhere around the world, it doesn't matter which country you're actually from, and that driving license, you got it 6 months, you got it like 6 months and you are in your country for the period of 6 months, you are able to transfer it into a Chinese driving license, and actually you just need to do a test. And if you want to know the process of actually acquiring a driving license in China, I'm going to link my video below, and you can actually watch the process. It's actually very quick and very convenient to actually do. You just need a few documentation. So one will ask, why do I actually need a driving license in China. Now, when it comes to the transportation in China, the transportation is actually very, very convenient. So when you live in cities, bigger cities such as Hangzhou, you are likely to come across, a metro, or maybe we can call it a subway. So you find that most of the lines of the subway actually go up to the main gate of the schools, especially when if you are in a school of Zhejiang University of Technology. And the other thing that you can actually own is actually an e-bike. So an e-bike is just like an essential thing that you actually don't actually even need a driving license to move around. It just gives you that convenience of actually moving around, because the classes might be quite a bit far actually from your dormitories, or maybe if you live off campus. The other thing that's very convenient is actually the public transport, which is actually very convenient to use, and actually very, very cheap. And you are talking about a price of actually from 2 yuan to actually a minimum of a maximum of actually 6 yuan. And when you look at the subway, it's actually similar to the public bus. And the only differences is that actually the subway is much quicker and actually more comfortable to be in than the buses. Now, why do you actually need a driving license? So the first one is actually the transfer thing, and the second one is actually we can never actually predict actually what might happen. So you might actually find yourself graduating, or maybe finding a job, and the transition of that thing, because for you to actually transfer your driving license to the Chinese version, you actually have to have it like 6 months before in the country of the origin of that driving license. So if you get your driving license from your country, you have to be in the country for at least a period of more than 6 months, then you can actually transfer it. But sometimes we find that we don't have actually that chance. So it's better you can actually just consider it that you have it within this period of time that you actually step into China, especially if you have the chance to. The second thing that we can talk about is about the bank card. Now, when you look at the bank card, especially if you are from, I don't know, from my country, you find that the transition and the service of the bank system in some countries is very, very poor, so much that, if you lose, or maybe you have an error when it comes to your bank card, the possibility of you not having a channel of transfer or receiving money becomes an issue, because the transferring and receiving of money into China is kind of another great issue, which actually needs to go different types of documentations. And they do actually, yes, Western Union and MoneyGram actually works in China, but it actually gives a lot of just troublesome, and actually some countries actually do not actually qualify, especially a lot of countries from Africa do not actually qualify for them to actually send and actually receive money here in China from Africa. So the best thing that you can do is actually you can actually open maybe 2 to 3 bank cards. So the first bank card should be from a specific bank, and then the second one can be from another bank, which is actually from within your names, and and the third bank can actually, you can open it in someone that you actually trust from your home, maybe your parents or your guardians or anyone that you can actually trust in case of something goes wrong. So you can actually open up a bank card, and then in someone's names, in case you lose the card, that person is actually able to transit and open a bank card for you, and send it for you through DHL, and while you still sort out this online, while you still sort out your bank card online. The fourth actually consideration that you might actually consider is actually the application. Now, when it comes to the application process, there are different forms, such as using agents, and someone will tell I can help you actually get through the application processes. Now, actually, when you look up some of the schools, such as maybe Zhejiang University or maybe Zhejiang University of Technology that I have experience with, you can actually make an online application. So you can actually submit your application online, and they are able to actually access your application, and you can actually communicate through them through the email. And some of the online applications, actually, they are very, very efficient. So much that on the online platform, you are able to actually communicate with them, send messages, and they are able to actually reply and get back to you as soon as possible. The only thing that you actually have to be or put in mind with is actually the time difference, in that China, when it comes to maybe the Central Africa or maybe Southern Africa, China is actually ahead by 6 hours. So you have to actually consider and take into consideration the time differences. So in this case, when you actually do the application, if you actually meet the qualification based on merits, you are able to, within the application, you're actually even able to apply for a scholarship, and they are able to actually assess your application. And if you qualify, they actually give you an acceptance letter. And after the acceptance letter, you are required to actually pay a certain amount based on the condition. If you have a scholarship, I think you need to pay a certain deposit. And during actually you also actually need to pay an application fee, which is actually about 400, and some schools also actually charge 800 yuan. So after they proceed and everything has been done, they'll actually send you a JW202. Now, a JW202 is actually that gives you an access to an X1 visa. Now, there's a difference. Actually, there are different types of visas, which is the X1 and the X2. X1 is actually for people that are actually coming to study for a long-term, period of time. So you are actually granted an X1 visa, and you can actually turn that visa into a resident permit. So when they send you that JW202, it's like which is like an invitation letter. You can go to the embassy in your country and do the application, which is actually also needs some other documentation, such as police clearance, medicals, and after that, actually the JW202 also comes with an admission letter. And if you successfully come into do the application and your X1 visa has been granted, now you can come into China, and the visa actually will last for about 30 days, which actually needs to be changed to a resident permit. And before you can do that, the school will require you, based on the condition, are you on scholarship? If you're on scholarship, they will grant you another JW202, which is a kind of yellowish in color, and which you can actually use to change into a resident permit. If you are not, then you are first required to do the registration and pay your fees. Then they can actually give you some documentation, and you change your visa into the resident permit. If you want to know about the processes of how to go about with your visa and all those things, I'm going to make another video. You can actually check out the link into my below here. The second, the fifth thing that you want to consider is that when it comes to the traveling part, you really have to make sure that you have a very good communication with your school, especially when it comes to the accommodation, because in the process of application, some schools will automatically not provide you with an arrival accommodation. So you really have to make sure that you can actually book a hotel and make sure that your flights are well organized. So usually the best application that you can use is actually trip.com, which I find to be very convenient when it comes to the booking of flights and booking of hotels. And you really have to make sure that you check very well and communicate to the people that you're actually booking the hotels, because some hotels actually do not accept, or maybe do not reach the qualifications for them to accept foreigners for them to sleep in those hotels. The seventh thing that you actually have to do is you have to download two important applications in China. So the first one is WeChat. Now, when you look at WeChat, WeChat is basically one of the major ways of communicating in China, in the sense that even actually when you reach, or maybe you're about to register in your university, you are required to scan certain groups, or maybe join the official site or maybe page for the school. That's where you actually where you get all kinds of notifications of maybe news, and if you have any queries, you are actually you can use actually this platform to communicate with them, and you are able to get assistance through this platform WeChat. The other thing that you can use with WeChat is that you can also pay your bills. You can actually scan, and then you are able to pay your bills through WeChat. And the second platform actually that you actually need is Alipay. So Alipay is also it's not actually a communicating device. It's not a way of communication platform, but it's actually a platform that enables you to pay other third-party apps, such as Taobao, and we also have Temu, and even different types of application actually run through. If you want to borrow maybe a bike, you can use Alipay, and different types, such as we have different types of bikes, such as Hello Bike, that will enable you to move from this distance to the other. So you can scan using your Alipay, and you are able to get access through these bikes. And the other thing that you actually also need is that currently, because of the COVID-19, you are required to have a certain code, for you to actually go through certain or maybe enter through different types of places, such as shopping malls, or maybe you'll be required to show your code. So you'll be required for you to show your code. So actually, all this is done through Alipay and WeChat. So if you don't have these two platforms, your life is not gonna be very, very easy. But you having this platform actually enables you and helps you in a lot of forms. Number 8. Now, when it comes to number 8, actually it's not a necessity, or maybe, but it's actually, now when you look at in China, so China has blocked platforms such as WhatsApp, Google, anything to do with Google. Maybe Gmail, all those things are actually blocked. TikTok is actually blocked, and you are actually only able to use the Chinese version of TikTok, which is actually Douyin, and the Chinese version of Google, which is Baidu. Now, it may be, yes, you might have the possibilities of actually downloading, a VPN, and it's able to work in a phone that you actually buy within China. But with my experience, the phones that actually we buy from our countries, and then you come with it in China, works more better when it comes to all these Google platforms. It's gonna work better, and you will have access to TikTok, especially on an Android phone, not on especially on an Android phone. And also when it comes to an iPhone, the possibilities of actually having access to TikTok are very high. Just that, you know, sometimes it works, and then sometimes it might stop, then it works just like that. But other application also work. So if you want to have access to those type of application, I would actually advise you to buy a phone before you actually come into China. You can actually buy a phone that will give you access to these services. Of course, they need also you to have a VPN, but the rate or maybe the possibilities at which this application work compared to them just downloading them from here within the Chinese version of the phone, whether Samsung or anything, they work much more better and much more stable. Yes, so if you want to maybe have so much access to this application, I would advise you that you actually buy a phone when you're home, a small phone, or maybe then you can buy a very good phone when you come here. Or maybe you can also consider buying imported phones, because in China there are so many imported accessories. So you can actually buy an American version of an iPhone, or you can buy an American version of a Samsung, or you can actually buy an American version of maybe a Xiaomi or Huawei. Then it's gonna give you a stable working of these Google application. Of course, they also need to work with VPN, just that it works much more better compared to a Chinese version that you actually buy, then you put in and download these applications. The next one is number 9. So now number 9, when you look at the law in China, it states that each and every foreigner that changes a certain location, or maybe if you are staying in this house, then you move into this house, you really have to make sure that within 24 hours you actually state a report with the police, and or maybe you inform them that you actually changed your address, or maybe you even if you travel to another city, you need to visit the nearest police station and actually inform them that you're actually within this city here. So you have to actually pay particular attention to this thing, because sometimes it comes with very great consequences. And to avoid such certain things, you might actually, even if, let me say, if you arrive late into a specific city, or maybe let me say you step down into China, you within 24 hours, whether the police are there or not, you just walk into the police station and tell them that you are around here. In case the police comes in knocking on the door, you can tell them, oh, I came already and did a report. In case of verification, you can actually take a video of yourself into the police, or you can actually tell them to check the cameras. This is gonna save you a lot of trouble from the police. The next one is number 10. Now, the most important thing is that when you come to China, basically one of the considerations that you must consider is the exchange of cultures. So in that, when you are in China, I hope that you can consider making a lot of Chinese friends. Now, this is going to help you a lot, and I prefer that you make Chinese friends in a very short period of time, especially when you have the basics of Chinese. Now, why do I say when you have the basics of Chinese? Because it's going to give you a chance to enhance and improve your Chinese level. If you make Chinese friends when you actually don't have any level of Chinese, it will take you in and state you to always speak English with them. And in that case, you find that the level of your Chinese is basically not likely to improve. and you might meet Chinese friends who are actually just want to use you to practice their English. So basically, if you can't start with the basics, then you can also start by trying as much as possible to speak Chinese with them. Do not worry about your pronunciation, your tones, or anything. Try your best to speak Chinese. Even saying hello, how are you in Chinese, ni hao. You know, it makes the Chinese feel proud to say, oh, you're able to speak. Oh, and it gives you that types of courage to go on and try your best to speak more and more Chinese. And also, when it comes to the making of a relationship, you can also in this way extend and broaden the type of friendship that you can have, not just those people that are able to speak the English to you, but in the process of you learning the language, you are able to broaden your opportunities, such as, you know, long-term opportunities, especially when it comes to finding a job. It's gonna really help you a lot, because the same people that you have a good relationship, they will try their best to actually connect you and find you a job on different types of platforms. The 11th one might feel a little uncomfortable, but that's a fact that we actually need to face. Now, the basic thing actually that you need to consider before you actually even step into China is that you have to look at your skin color. Now, this thing is gonna get you very uncomfortable, because make sure Chinese are really going to make it a bigger case for you and ask you a lot of questions. If you look like me, they're gonna ask you a question like, why are you so black? And you look so dark. This type of question. But it feels a bit uncomfortable in the beginnings, and they're gonna state it straight to your face and make you feel very uncomfortable to them. Now, especially to your side, they're gonna make you feel very uncomfortable. Now, this thing actually really takes to hit you, especially, you know, when you are from a country that you're not even aware about your skin color and you don't take too much concern about it. But when you come to China, it's gonna be one of the main things that you're gonna have to face each and every particular day. They're gonna say the truth, and they're gonna ask you direct questions that you don't wanna hear, especially about your skin color. And when it comes to different types, certain opportunities will not be granted to you based on the appearance, based on your appearance, based on your complexion. So these things also need to be put into consideration. Now, it becomes a big thing in the first period of time, but you know, as time goes on, you just tend to get used to it and you don't really care. And sometimes it might seem very frustrating, especially that if you cannot get certain opportunities. But in my case, one thing that I can advise you is that when you look at China is actually coming up and it's opening up. So you just have to be open-minded to greater opportunities and be positive about yourself. Be very positive and do not carry the negativity of certain people that might actually imply on you, but look into the positive side of everything. So when it comes to especially the people that are actually coming to Africa, the Chinese look at Africa as a country. They do not know the possibility, that actually Africa has about maybe more than 50 countries. They do not know such a thing, but when they look at a black person's skin is actually associated to actually Africa. And the first thing, if they look at you, they will not think about, or even whether you're from the UK, you're from USA, you're from Canada, whatever country you are from and you're black, the first thing that the most of them they'll actually look at is that, oh, that's an African. He's coming from Africa, based on the appearance of your complexion, that's your skin color. So this thing should actually be, what's this? You should actually be proud of it. And in most cases, most people are forced to actually deny that they're African. So they state different nationalities to say, no, I'm from the UK, so that, they are able to be granted, opportunities, job opportunities into different, what's this? Because when you look at the system of China, into the Chinese minds, Africa is an association of, let me say, maybe poverty or maybe being poor. That's the association of them into their minds. And to them, the state of being African, or maybe the word Africa itself, is that it does not give them something of, let me say, something that's significance, let me say something of good significance to them that they can be stated out. So when it comes to job or maybe opportunities, or let me say, if you work as a teacher and you tell the parents to say, oh, I'm a teacher here, and where are you from? Tell them another country, apart from maybe South Africa, which is kindly respected and looked at as a rich country. Then their attitude or maybe their facial expression is that they look down on you. So most of them, they force themselves to actually change their countries, and in situation, you are also likely to change your country. And you can try it when you reach, if you successfully go through the application, when you drop down into the airport or maybe going through the subways, when they ask you, where are you from? You can tell, oh, I'm from the UK. They'll be like, wow. You tell them, oh, I'm from this South African country. Oh, yeah, just like that. Okay. Sometimes the conversation might not even proceed. But the most important thing is, all this we can group them to say, just be positive and focus on the main purpose, focus on the bigger picture. And otherwise, China has got each and every greater opportunities and resources for especially foreigners to accomplish their goals here in China. The last thing that I would actually like to talk about is actually the opening of the bank. So the opening of the bank in China, actually, I'm not sure in 2022, but the time I was actually opening my bank, the first thing they're going to look at, you need to have a resident permit. And basically the process is very, very simple when it comes to the opening of the bank. And most of the bank that is actually recommended for you to actually open, especially as a student in Hangzhou, is ICBC, which is actually the best bank because it's very easy to access. And if you are offered a scholarship, the school actually requests you to actually open this bank for them to actually transfer the scholarship money into the bank. So when you actually reach China, you might also consider actually opening ICBC Bank. And also you can also choose China Mobile, or you can also actually open up a number such as China Mobile or maybe China Telecom, China Mobile, maybe China Unicom. But the best thing, if you are actually a student and you have a student ID, you can go to one of the main China Mobile or maybe China Unicom into the school, or China Telecom, and they'll give you a cheaper actually service, which actually each and every month you are able to actually pay a minimum subscription each and every month. And usually when you choose China Telecom, it also, or China Mobile, it usually comes with an internet package in it. So if you have a Chinese, if you actually have a student ID, you can go to one of the China Mobile inside the school. Then they can offer you a student package, which is actually very, very cheap and very, very affordable.